I'm Anise, and this is the behind the scenes of the Black Eve cover shoot. The inspiration for this whole, canvas that we have here is, it wasn't until I was done with the album that I realized the 5 songs that I have on the album all kind of give this feel in their musical sound that sounds like the 5 elements. So the 5 elements being space, water, fire, earth, and sea. The song that made me feel inspired to have this sky motif painted on my body is the song that you might hear in the background now, Toulouse. And this song was written about maybe 7 months ago or so. There was a period when I actually lived in Toulouse for a few months. When I got to Toulouse, it just felt so blissful. I was basically camped up with who I was dating at the time. It was a weird season of semi-lockdown pandemic. There was something really fantastic about being there in this time when it wasn't very busy. We got to experience a lot of the city for just what it was and not seeing it with a lot of crowds and so on and so forth. And I knew that when I was writing this song, I wanted to write a song that evoked a feeling of floating. When you're so happy and feeling so blissful that you feel like you don't feel any weight in your body or in your life. And, I worked with the 2 producers, T and Alex, who have been amazing working on this project with me. And this is the sound that we brought together, this kind of very floaty, ethereal, almost kind of like angel, happy, in love type feeling. So that is what inspired these clouds that you see on my torso close to my heart, because there's no other way to put it simply. I was happy, I was in love, I was blissful, and really nothing else mattered. Toulouse and Obey were 2 of the first songs that we started working on the album. And how I worked with Alex and T, the producers for the album, is it always helps me to have things down on paper to kind of have a launch pad of like what we're going to jump off of or how we're going to explore what we're about to work on. And so I made a little document that gave like these fake titles to the 5 songs I wanted to create. And for instance, obviously we know the title now of one of my recent releases is Obey, but back before it was a song, I called it Ooey Gooey Cool. And it's because I wanted it to have this kind of like viscous kind of like moving through goo or like moving through something kind of watery or slippery but also a little gooey. I wanted it to have that kind of feel. Obey I associate with the feeling of being like in liquid, or it has this kind of oceanic watery type feel. When Beyonce released Lemonade, I can't remember which song it was, but there's one song, or it might be one of the transition poems, where she's immersed in water and she's kind of like moving through the water in this kind of very slow, kind of like, anti-gravity type feel. And yeah, when I was writing Obey, I was seeing images like that in my head. In one respect, it's about lovemaking, but it's about a lot more than that. It's about what happens when we allow ourselves to surrender to situations and the kind of freedom that can come with surrender. So there's a lot of wordplay in Obey that kind of mixes like the sexual and the sensual with the holy and the sanctified. And I like kind of playing with those boundaries a little bit, but all in all, Obey is a song that's all about freedom and empowerment. And perhaps the freedom and empowerment that you can find in something as beautiful and natural as the ocean. So the part that Pixie is painting on me now, the earth element, is connected with the title track, Black Eve. So I'd say on the album, that song is the most grounded, it's the most earthy. It has these like very strong drums, very strong instrumentation that makes you feel very kind of like low and connected and down to the earth. I started writing that song in the summer of 2020, kind of in the wake of all of, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of the police brutality and violence that was happening in the US, which was a very interesting experience for me, particularly being a Black American who's here in the UK, and obviously the UK has its own problems, but you kind of feel like your home country is blowing up, and you're also dealing with your own traumas. I had to take a small break from Instagram for a little bit during that time, because even though on one hand, yes, I was very happy that there was this like greater awareness happening in the world, and everyone was finally starting to listen and pay attention and clearly be very active and vocal about it on Instagram. Like, as a Black person who's already dealing with that trauma on a fairly regular, consistent basis, there's also something that's quite traumatic in like all these other people finally acknowledging your trauma and like being aghast at it. It was a lot. I had to take a bit of a break from social media, and yeah, it gets tiring every day to see people who look like you constantly being killed and dragged and violated and everything. So I took a little break, and in that break, I was trying to figure out how to deal with my own thoughts and my own emotionality around it. And I was listening to this really beautiful piano chord progression, and the last thing that I thought was that this whole song, Black Eve, was gonna be birthed out of it. It was very easy to then just start writing lyrics that represented how I felt. And yeah, I was feeling frustration, I was feeling exhaustion, but also recognizing that there is a better future, and we have to kind of keep our eyes on that. So this part that Pixie's working on now it represents space, the ether, celestial universe. I think that, at least for me, when I was in grade school and I learned about the elements, I learned there were 4. There was fire, water, earth, and air. And it wasn't until I started giving myself my own non-formal or non-traditional education, I learned about the 5th element of space, the ether. And so, yeah, it just so happened that when I was listening back to the album, I started seeing how these 5 songs that, were created have the feeling of these different elements. And so the last song on the album is this song called Grades. And Grades is, I don't know, I know that I wanted to end the album with a song that felt like a kind of release, but a release that is soothing and that feels healing. Grades, someone told me who listened to it once, they said that they felt like Grades had a sound bath effect, which I was really happy to hear, because yeah, on the way out from the album, I want people to feel relaxed, I want them to feel soothed, I want them to feel like the album did something for them that left them better than they were coming into it. And lyrically, Grades, once again, as we're kind of seeing this theme, is a bit about surrender and the freedom that comes from surrender, and recognizing that essentially no matter what happens, like, you're okay and you're doing all right. And it's just a reassurance of where we are in our current position, we can still find things to be grateful for in that position and in that moment. And doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for more or desire change. That's totally fine, and obviously that's human and natural. But you know, even when your mind or your body is trying to tell you you're not doing all right, there's a lot that is still going quite well. You're doing okay. And so in ways I'm just trying to represent this very powerful and profound energy that's within all of us, and essentially be, you know, this living piece of art that is here to share in my album, on the cover, and just generally. I feel so beautiful.
This your anthem if you're single, we your kinfolk. Mama told me never with.
So we are all finished now with the body paint. We have our space element, air, ocean, water, earth, and last but not least, the flames. And this flames element is connected to my single Kinfolk, which, if you've heard it at this point, which I know you have because you got it in one of your playlists, you have it bopping night and day, you have it on repeat, that's definitely the most like club anthem of all the songs on my EP. And yeah, that association instantly, me, T, and Alex were putting together the beat, and we were just like, fire, flames, this is hot. So of course, Kinfolk is representing this element here at my feet, the fire element. And yeah, now the whole thing has come to fruition. The last piece that we need is just the crown, which is gonna go on top, and then we're gonna shoot the cover. So come on, let's go.
This is my song, turn it up. Tell her we ain't gonna stop, no. This is my song, turn it up. African American, New York City driven. Haitian, Jamaican, my kinfolk Caribbean. What? And I'm living European. Got them visas, culture bleeding. Mama told me never with her, cause you're single. Ain't a contest, keep it honest, keep it simple. Don't forget who fucking with you, that's your kinfolk. You ain't walking on your kinfolk, don't ever feel alone again. Mama told me never with her, cause you're single. Ain't a contest, keep it honest, keep it simple. Don't forget who fucking with you, that's your kinfolk.
So we've just wrapped, and I feel better than ever. This was honestly an amazing experience to get all of this painted on my body, to be a living canvas. You guys definitely have to continue checking out the album. Put it on replay, put it on your playlist, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey. It means a lot.
Don't bother that drama, don't want nada. Woke up black again, my diamond skin, that black effect like the Carters. Mama told me never with her, cause you're single. Ain't a contest, keep it honest, keep it